I'm joined today by Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a psychologist well known for his Stanford Prison Experiment. He's here today to talk to us about what he sees as the growing issue of the disconnection of men and boys from society. Dr. Zimbardo, this is based on a study that you did. Talk to us about the study, the survey, how the data were collected.
I've been concerned about the issue of young men giving up on social reality and retreating into a world of virtual reality. Actually, let me just preface before we go into the survey we did, is that we have just written a new book called Man Interrupted, and it really sounds an alarm about a new threat to America, not from external enemies like ISIS terrorists. It's coming from within. It's really a whole generation of young men, I guess we can call it the internet generation, not millennials or anything, who have grown up living on the internet, living in a tech world. And what they're doing is they're spending much of their time playing video games and watching freely accessible pornography. The more they do that, the more they are failing in school because everything in the world is boring compared to video games and pornography. They're failing socially because when they start early enough retreating to their rooms, they're never learning basic social communication. And curiously, many of them are preferring porn sex over real sex when they can get it. So this is really a three-part tragedy. And the other thing is they become consumers of these multi-billion-dollar industries. The video game industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Porn industry, it's hard to know, but it's at least multi-million-dollar. But they don't create anything. If you're sitting in your room playing video games for 6, 10, or more hours every night, you're not reading, you're not writing, you're not playing instruments, you're not in athletics, you're not on team sports, you're not out in nature, and you're not dancing with girls.
So I think let's pause there. Conceptually, I think that makes sense. You know, sort of the thesis that you're putting forth. Talk to us now about how you gathered the data.
Yeah, we gathered data from it was online SurveyMonkey. We got 20,000 people responding. 75% were young men, ages 14 to I guess 20, 30. And essentially, we asked a series of questions about how they use their time, how they feel about their lives, where they find meaning in their lives, what kinds of activities they engage in, and the overall response was really very, very sad. We did this, I guess, 2 years ago. We did this. I gave a talk at TED a few years ago, I guess 2011, a very short 4-minute talk called On the Demise of Guys. And it was really based on no data. It was simply in just more talking with young people and teaching young people, just my concern that this was a growing problem not only in our country, but in many countries throughout the world, of young men retreating to the world of virtual reality. And so the talk I gave on TED went viral, and I wrote a small ebook for them. But then in order to put it in a book, we really needed some data. So my co-author, Nikita Coulomb, and I collected this data. And the sad thing is, so many young men feel disconnected from society, feel that their life has no meaning, no focus, that they can't compete. They don't have the skills or ability to compete with other men. And now they don't have the skill or ability to compete with other women because women are doing better than ever, not only academically, intellectually, but even athletically. So there's a whole generation of young men, whose key terms are about themselves. I feel I'm lonely. I don't have many friends. I'm anxious, worried about a future with no good career, and then the other thing is
well, let's pause there if we can. There's a lot there, and I just sort of want to make this as conversational
sure.
as possible.
Okay.
Some of the I have some concerns about the survey, and I would love to tell them to you so that you can sort of alleviate my concerns if that's possible. As you mentioned, the initial TED Talk that spurred the creation of the ebook and the survey was, as you just mentioned in your own words, based on no data. And my concern in looking at the survey results are sort of multifold. And one of the concerns is huge self-selection bias. Number
Oh,
one,
for
a lot of that traffic was driven to the survey through the traffic of the TED Talk, which, as you mentioned, was based on no data. So you already have individuals who either, number one, we just have basic self-selection bias by restricting it to those who found the survey through the TED Talk. And if you watch that TED Talk, that TED Talk, as you mentioned, is sort of depressing about the situation of boys and young men. So are you not sort of priming those individuals who really were giving their opinions about the status of men and boys in the survey? Aren't you priming them to give the exact answers which you were looking for?
I'm not sure. I mean, I understand all of these surveys are self-selected. It's people who go online who are willing to give up time to do this. But given the size of the survey, I mean, the point is 20,000 people responded. So you can say, yes, it's self-selected, but it still represents a big swath of American youth.
Does it though? Because 40% of the respondents only were under 25 and about a quarter were female, but you came away making very broad generalizations about quote, young men.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what you want. How do you want me to answer that?
Well, in other words, my general concern is that the conclusions you came to are fascinating if they are indeed true, but there are some serious critiques that have been made that this was an online survey with huge self-selection bias, making very broad generalizations about, quote, young men, in spite of the fact that 60% of the respondents were over age 25 and a quarter were women.
Okay. Okay. I buy that.
So you agree that the generalizations you made may have been a little broad based on the logistics of the survey.
I agree. Yes.
Okay. So what is your next step in investigating this? Because we started with this viral TED Talk with no data. We had a survey that indicated that you agree with me about my concerns. So what would you propose societally we do next to really try to figure out if this is an issue that is going on with young boys specifically, or if this is affecting men and women equally, or if it's affecting people of middle age similarly to those of young age? What else can we do to expand this?
We have been doing lots of interviews in many countries around the world. People have been writing to us. Individuals have been contacting us, Nikita and myself. We have a website, Demise of Guys, that we get lots of traffic through. And our simple point is that we look at the outcome data. We look at the extent to which young men are failing in school. They make up most of the highest percentage of kids in remedial classes. They get most of the D's and F's. More young men than young women are dropping out of high school and college.
And why do you think that is?
Our reasoning is that they have given up trying to compete, and that because they spend so much time playing video games and watching pornography, which they would rather be doing than anything else in the world, the issue then becomes is boring. Somebody is talking to you in an analog format, typically without any even presentation images. So school becomes boring compared to playing video games. When you talk about an addiction, it's really not the amount of something you consume. It's really a psychological preference for this activity than anything else. And video games are designed to be enchanting. Pornography now is designed to be all engaging. And so if you do those games more than 4 or 5 hours a night, Now we know, excuse me, back up. There is evidence that playing video games in a modest amount, and
Hmm.
modest probably is 2 or 3 hours, has positive cognitive impact. And it improves eye-hand coordination, improves planning,
Right.
rapid responding. And it's not no we have they have not done a systematic study to show what is the breaking point between moderate and extreme, but I would say beyond 5 hours a night begins to be heavy use, and with heavy use comes a lot of negative effects, because now video games and pornography are played side by side. That is, all the evidence we have from interviews is that boys more than girls. Boys play video games much more than girls. Boys watch pornography much more than girls, boys and men, because they are both designed by men for men. They promote aggression, destruction, competition, and so far those industries, which are multi-billion-dollar industries, have not taken the time out to refocus for women. I'm sure they will shortly.
Yeah, I'm just
Because
curious.
that's a
The
big.
interesting thing to me would be there's no, I agree with you. We know from a number of studies that men and young men are bigger consumers of both video games and pornography. But might there not be some broader, overreaching phenomena that we could look at where, while it's true that with pornography and video games, it is disproportionately men, there are other social platforms, including, just as an example, Instagram and Pinterest, which skew heavily towards women. And isn't the sort of dopamine response that, whether it's the video gaming or the looking at Instagram pictures for men and women respectively, isn't the impact similar on the psyche in terms of that sort of dopamine response? I'm just trying to figure out how we're getting to this being a phenomena just for men.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that the dopamine response, looking at an Instagram photo of
Yeah,
even a naked person, is the same as watching a 15-minute highly intoxicating pornography session,
fair
or
enough.
like playing World of Warcraft. They're not comparable. I mean, the arousal that you get from not only looking. See, I mean, the difference between video games and Instagram is you're not just looking, you're doing. You're responding in microseconds, and so kids who become the more. And again, it's one of the few things that people who play video games know. The more you practice, the better you get. And there's very few things in their world that's true. That you're guaranteed that for every hour you put in, you're going to improve your rating, your level. And I don't see that. I don't see the comparison at all between looking at an Instagram and playing a video game. I mean, one is totally involving, engaging, absorbing, and we know this. There is data that the arousal level in the brain for both is site porn. Your brain on porn site, indicates the incredible level of arousal that you get from watching porn is, it's the level you get from being addicted to virtually anything. And so I think your comparison is really a bad one. There's girls watch Instagram more, and so their dopamine level should be the same. I think it's a non-comparison for me.
Fair enough. No, and I wasn't suggesting the dopamine level would be the same, but that it's the same sort of mechanism or phenomena. But what I would encourage our audience to do is check out Dr. Zimbardo's survey, check out the new book, judge for yourselves. And what I hope, Dr. Zimbardo, it seems you agree with me, at least as far as the survey is concerned. Hopefully, we can get some peer-reviewed science on this and really figure out whether what you're suggesting is true. For today, I can't thank you enough for joining me.
Thank you so much. No, I agree absolutely. I mean, this survey was just giving us really a view of a portrait of the landscape to say, is there a problem? The other thing I should mention very quickly is a big major problem we are identifying is the percentage of young men who are growing up without a father. Because divorce rate is moving up to 50% in America, half of all boys have no father, and fathers are critical for giving boys external motivation to perform. Mothers give love unconditionally. They love you simply because you exist. And you come home with a bad report card, they say, "Oh, try harder next time, Johnny. Mama loves you anyway." Papa doesn't love you anyway if you don't perform. So boys are losing, boys more than girls are losing that external stimulation. And so I think this is a separate problem which feeds into
Yeah.
out of society, wanting to live their life in the virtual reality.
All right. Well, certainly a lot there that is opening up a whole other can of worms that we don't have time for today. But I thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much again.